This week, lactose lasers, a Dunder gone asunder, and who wants to be a governor? This is Seriously 7 Days. Thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Bryan Parmelee, and on newsstands and internets right now we have the Laser family. Now, aside from having one of the raddest last names in all of Vermont, these are the folks behind Butterworks Farm, who are known for their organic, 100% grass-fed dairy products. The Lasers are currently in the process of handing the farm over to a younger generation, which makes them pretty unique, as 90% of New England's aging farmers don't have anyone lined up to run the farm when they get too old to do so. Turns out millennials just aren't that into 80-hour work weeks or manual labor. Now, despite having someone in line, the Lasers are finding it's pretty challenging to hand a farm over. It's a pretty complicated business, and it's very competitive, especially in the world of yogurt. They were killing the yogurt game about 10 years ago, but now everybody's starting to eat Greek yogurt, which I believe comes from the milk of classical sculptures. When you're done reading the story, also check out this week's Stuck in Vermont for an even closer look at the family Laser. Also in this week's issue is a very interesting story about 97 Dunder Road in Burlington. Now, the property was purchased by a man named Don Albertson back in 1966 for $6,500, which in today's marketplace will let you crash on the floor of a walk-in closet for 3, maybe 4 months.
Yay!
Mr. Albertson is an architect by trade, and he designed a dream home that he's been slowly building ever since. Now, you may read this story and feel a little bit of sympathy for Mr. Albertson, who is now 83 years old, but as it turns out, the real victims here are his neighbors, who consider his property to be an eyesore in a desirable neighborhood. Man, can you imagine actually being able to afford a home in Burlington and not having the entire community look exactly the way you think it should? I mean, it's devastating. Finally this week, political columnist John Walters is already wondering who the Democrats are going to choose to challenge Governor Phil Scott in the 2018 election. Now, you may be thinking it's a little bit early to be talking about that election, but he brings up some pretty good points. First of all, democracy ain't free no more. Even in tiny Vermont, you have to be prepared to spend at least $1 million to be even remotely competitive. Secondly, after the legislative session is over, the governor pretty much controls the headlines, which makes it that much harder for you to get your party's message across. Now, some of you might argue that the governor is pretty much already controlling headlines, what with his vetoes and all. There have already been 3 vetoes in this last session alone. There was the budget bill, there was the property tax bill, and then, what was that third one there? Oops. Oh yeah, weed! Dude vetoed the weed bill. And it wasn't even a particularly ambitious weed bill, it was a watered-down version of an already watered-down Washington, D.C. bill. And for that, he actually made national headlines, which probably confused a lot of people outside of Vermont, except maybe Attorney General Jeff Sessions, who was probably like, "Oh, now that is just remarkable, Mr. Governor. Now, if you could you please veto it again, because I simply do not recall if I was there the first time." So who are the Democrats going to choose? Well, so far everyone's doing that modest thing that Hillary Clinton did before the 2016 election, where they're like, "Oh, that is so flattering. I have never even considered running for higher office before. What? That's crazy." But who knows? You know, while we're modeling things after DC, maybe the Democrats should consider running a celebrity for a change. Maybe Senator Patrick Leahy can pull a few strings and convince a certain Cape Crusader to step in and be the hero the party deserves.
We are not intimidated by thugs.
That's going to do it for us here this week at Seriously 7 Days. Thank you so much for tuning in, and be sure to follow the links below to learn more about all the topics that we discussed this week. We'll see you again next time.